Hey friends, Kristin LaVanway here. I'm dying to make this exciting episode of the Phoenix real estate market update for you, and I'm having a lot of technical difficulties, but this is going to be the last take. So we're going to make this work. I'm very frustrated right now because there's just so much gloomy doomy crap out there. People are trying to exploit people's concerns and even fears with all the stuff that's going on in the market right now between the interest rates, the bank failures, the Fed doing what they're doing, and it makes people, concerned. And I don't think we need to feed into those concerns by putting all of this crap out here that you see. Just open the news, and this is the stuff you see. And so I want to just take a few minutes to put a little bit of it into perspective, okay? Starting with the bank failures, and honestly, it's leveling off right now. There's a little counter that I follow that says it's been 0 days since a bank has collapsed, and I think there are a few more banks that have collapsed since this chart came out, but they were smaller in nature and not as impactful. See this chart, the red line here shows the banks that have collapsed since 2001. This is the red line here. Now this is what everyone worries about, right? This is back in the recession, mortgage crisis, bank, all that stuff going on in this time period. Not a lot of regulation back then. So since then, there's been some rules and they've helped. You'll see a lot fewer bank closures, but you still see them coming along. Well, all of a sudden here in 2023, we had 2 banks close. Okay, big deal. We've had 2 banks, 4 banks. The difference here was that these 2 banks had a lot of money in them. The green line shows the deposits in each of those banks, and these 2 banks had a lot of money in them. And so it got people's attention. It did. It got people's attention. And so steps had to be taken, and they have been taken, and now I think that things have calmed down. The end result, and people were worried about, well, how is that going to impact the real estate market? Well, it actually kind of helped because mortgage rates went down. We're at 6.59. If you look at an index that I follow, this index was up in the 7s for a while, and now it's mid 6s, which is better. I know people are like, but it's not 3. No, but it's not 7, and it's in the right direction. And then FHA and VA, keep an eye on those because those have been actually a lot better. 2 days ago, the FHA was at 5.90 and the VA was at 5.95 according to this index, and now they've jumped up a little bit. So my point with the mortgage rates is they are stabilizing, but they are volatile. This is where we are. We are here. And when you talk about people like, well, I remember when I was paying 18% for my mortgage, that was back in the 80s. Yeah, they had some financial stuff going back in the 80s too. But here's the thing about these financial crises that happen, okay? They work out. They work out and things get better and we get back to normal and we don't remember that it happened until it happens again. This is a long-range perspective of the consumer price index. This is one of the indexes that people use when they talk about inflation. And, you can see, it's gone up, the consumer price index. It's kind of hard to tell from this particular chart, but if you zoom in here, up until where you can see the 2020, this is where things got real interesting, okay? It was after COVID when everybody hunkered down in their homes. They had all this extra money. There was some stimulus here and there. And so they had more money to spend and there was, more demand for stuff and supply chain and blah, blah, blah. And so that's what we ended up having, this big jump up in the consumer price index. And you can see that right in here, boop, it is starting to level off a little bit. So that's the good news, and it means that for now the battle continues, but we are making some progress, so that's really good, and that's going to help out. So where are we with the real estate market? It's a seller's market, folks. I don't care what the headlines say. A lot of the stuff that they're talking about is from a couple of months ago. Okay, it's from a couple of months ago. Where we are right now today is sellers have an advantage about 35% above normal. Comfort market index of 100 is balance. 134.9 is 35 points in favor of sellers. What's driving it right now is more a supply than demand. Demand is a little below normal, okay? Understandably so with the interest rates, but supply is well below normal. 61.3% of the homes that we need to service our current market, that's how many we have available right now. So What does that mean? It means prices are going up. Despite what the headlines say, prices are going up. Here was the low point in January. That was the low. That's how far prices came down, about 15% from the peak. These prices are based on homes that went under contract here. So these prices are based on homes that went under contract here. This is good to know when we talk about later. You're going to want to keep that in mind. Price per square foot is a lagging indicator. It's old news, but that's what a lot of people base their decisions on, is this old news. So we're about 5% ahead of where we were back in January. So we're down about maybe 8 to 10% from where we were last year. So the listing success rate back when, we kind of were having a little bit of a slump, it was harder to sell a house. Now it's easier to sell a house. Is it astronomically easier? Does this mean that, it's going to be crazy again? Not necessarily. Okay, if you look historically speaking, here's where we are right now. As far as listing success, about 78% of homes get sold, according to this metric. And here's where we were in 2021 and 2022. It was roughly 94% of all homes were getting sold. So they were all getting sold. And we know that. People were lining up around the block to buy those homes. But when you step back and you look farther, all the way back to 2008, here's what listing success rate looks like. We're like right in here. We're right there. So it's about a normal amount of, of expectation on the part of sellers that their homes are going to sell. That's what we're dealing with right now. So that's nice. It's better than where we were back in December, where a third of the homes weren't getting sold. And so when we start looking at trends going forward, when we wonder, well, where are prices headed? A good place to look would be where were prices when they go under contract? And that's right here. And you can see that over the last few weeks, the listing price when homes go under contract is trended down slightly. Does that mean prices are going down? Probably not. It probably means they're going to be stable. They're not going to go up a lot. It certainly means they're not going to skyrocket, okay? And here you can see this is where they were when they were sold. These prices here, you can see they went up. So all of that's reflective in this market coming back alive, which is what March has been all about. Now, because the properties are going under contract, our supply is going down. Here you can see the days of inventory is heading down, and it's significantly higher than what we had in 2021 and 2022. Okay, this is the difference in supply between this year and the last 2 years. It's significant, and it shows, and it's made it easier for buyers to find homes. This is why some sellers right now are willing to give concessions, why you can look around for a house, you can take your time making a decision, because there's more inventory than there's been in the last 2 years. Here's a little more perspective on listings going under contract, and you can see again that it's leveling off. And it usually does this time of year. It usually does level off some, but we kind of didn't want it to, because it's a lot lower than it was in the last 2 years. Historically speaking, it's lower than it was ever. So we're really seeing a big slowdown in our volume of sales. So that doesn't mean that homes are selling for less. It just means less homes are selling. Why are less homes selling? Because there's less homes to sell. I know that sounds really weird, but that's the way it is. And you can see this is back in 2010, 11, 12. This is the recovery from the big crash. And you can see that it was there was a lot more activity back then, even compared to even the last 2 years. So we're really low in our volume right now. We're down here, really, really low. There's two things that impact the number of listings on the market: the number of homes that get sold and the number of homes that come on the market. We just talked about the number of homes that get sold, and it's down. So you're like, well, wouldn't there be more listings? Well, let's talk about the number of homes that are coming on the market, starting with new builds. Okay. You can see the signs everywhere. There's new builds coming up. There's new homes being built all the time. Yes and no. The number of new builds has been steadily declining, and it's been steadily declining for about 2 years now. Ever since the shutdown, builders are like, okay, maybe we need to put the brakes on. Why? Because it's so hard to get drywall and sinks and lumber. What hasn't been slowing down is multifamilies. Multifamily permits are up. So we're going to see fewer single-family homes coming on the market, and new multifamily could be condos, but more likely it's going to be rentals, apartments. Even some of those single-family homes are going to be rentals, because if you look around, there's a growing number of these build-to-rent communities where they build little houses in a community, and all of them are available for rent, not for sale. I am super annoyed by that, but hey, it's business, right? So you can see that that's an issue with fewer homes being built. Well, what about properties coming on the market? Yeah, not so much. Sellers are just not selling. This is the year-to-date listings for 2023 compared to 2021 and 22. Way down so far this year, but check it out. It's been going down, but it's going down a lot in March. It's going down a lot in March. People are just not putting their houses on the market. I just did an analysis for one of my clients whose home's on the market, and there were 12 homes that went under contract and 3 homes that came on the market during that same time period. So obviously the net result is fewer homes on the market. So that's just something to keep in mind as we're going forward. Again, here's a bigger perspective on the single family permits. And you can see they were on the rise up until recently, and now they are way down. This is year to date is the end of February, so it's significantly lower. We're talking about the number of single family permits that they had back in 2014 and 15. And again, some of those are going to be rentals. Multifamily up. So look around, look what's getting built. Apartments everywhere. Some condos, some townhomes, but that's where we're at. So in a nutshell, where we are, where I'm going to wrap it up for this week for this extremely long video. Oh, it's not too bad. I'll cut it down. I'll cut out this part right now. Maybe yes, maybe no. But anyways, just to wrap it up, in a nutshell, first of all, forget all those headlines, because that's not reality. It's not. I'll talk about some more stuff next week to just prove my point. But when the number of listings is going down, it's not a crash. When the prices are going up, it's not a crash. It's not a crash when there's less inventory and there's more buyers, and all the signs are pointing to that trend continuing. So if I had to say it in simplest terms, right now all the signs are pointing to it's easier to sell a house, harder to buy a house going forward. Who knows? Next week it might change. Everything's a moving target, but I would say right now that's going to be the direction for a while. If I had to guess, and maybe interest rates went up, or if something was going to shift, I would think it's just going to slow down the market even more. Listen, stay away from that gloomy doomy stuff. It's going to make you crazy, okay? If this stuff is interesting, if it's helpful for you to see actual facts, figures without all the drama and stuff, hey, just subscribe, just keep coming back. This is what I'm all about. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, and I'm not gonna make it sound worse than it is or better than it is, okay? I just like to tell it like it is. So check on back, stay tuned, and make it a great